Hi everyone, now we're going to look at Module 3, Methods for Developing Partnerships. This is very important because as you begin teaching and you start learning kind of the dynamics of what makes students successful, one of those things that's very important is the partnerships that you build with parents, with families, community agencies, even your colleagues and administrators. So with that being said, Module 3 really points out some very specific things that can help you work smarter, not harder, and build relationships with those around you that can help facilitate student success. So when we look at Module 3, of course, again, we still have our task list. This is going to let you know what chapters we're dealing with, and Module 3 is dealing with Chapter 8, 9, 10, and 11. You also have several assignments that are due, some very important assignments that are due in Module 3. You're going to have a parent newsletter that's worth 50 points due on June 16th. You're going to have your Module 3 journal, your Test 2. Now, I realize this is technically the third testing experience that you're going to have. We had our first test, then we had our midterm, and now we're calling this Test 2. Test 2 is not comprehensive. It is only testing you on chapters 8, 9, 10, and 11. So you don't have to look back to previous modules. This is only testing on chapters 8 to 11. 25 points, again, closes at midnight, just in previous tests, on June the 23rd. So let's now take a look at some of those assignments that you are responsible for in Module 3. The very first one is a parent newsletter, and this is a critical assignment for you. If you click on that link, it's going to take you to a couple of more links. The EDU 131 newsletter assignment rubric, and then the newsletter assignment overview. Now, the rubric is going to tell you exactly how you're going to get your points, and the overview tells you what needs to be included in your assignment. So we're going to start with the overview first, just to kind of give you a taste of what it is that you're going to be doing. Okay. So here is your overview, and when we talk about a newsletter is one way to communicate with the families that you're working with. It's not the only way, but many teachers and educators use newsletters to let families know what's happening in the classroom, what are students learning, what are some upcoming events, how can parents be a part of the student learning environment, and they use these newsletters just to keep parents informed about what's going on. You really want your parents to know exactly what's happening within the classroom. You want them to feel like that classroom is almost like a second home to their child. So we want to keep them informed. We want to let them know how they can help us, and a newsletter is a great way to do that. It's not the only way, again, but it's a great way. Most of the time when we think about newsletters going home from classrooms, it's on a consistent basis so that parents know when to be looking for this form of communication. So when you think about when do I want to send a newsletter home, is it going to be something that you do once a month? Is it going to be every other week? Is it going to be every Friday? And whatever method you choose is fine, but you want to stay consistent. So in other words, you don't want to send it on a Friday this week, but then turn around and send it on a Wednesday the next week. Or if you say you're going to do it bi-monthly, every other week, you skip a week here and there. You don't want to do that. You want to keep it consistent so that parents are looking for it and they're excited about it. They want to know what's going on in your classroom. So consistency is key when we talk about using newsletters as a form of communication with our parents. Also, as you read through, you're going to be thinking about what do I want to put in there? How do I want to format it? What do I want it to look like? And there are so many different templates that you can use from Microsoft Word, all kinds of templates that you can find. And you are welcome to use one of those templates. You don't have to make or create a template for yourself, but you want to use a template that's going to help you look polished and professional. One of the things that you really want to make sure does not happen when you send letters and newsletters and things like that home to your parents is that there are no typos, there are no grammatical errors, there's no spelling mistakes. When parents see things like that come home, they really do start to question, is this the person I want teaching my child? And we all make typos. We all make mistakes when we're communicating, but we want to make every effort to make sure that you are using your spell check on Microsoft, that you're looking over for grammatical mistakes. If you know that that's an area of weakness for you, you want to make sure that you almost get another pair of eyes or another set of eyes to look at your newsletter to make sure that it looks polished and professional. You never want to send anything home that has any of those type of mistakes in it. Very important. As you scroll down for the overview, I've given you the components that we're looking for in a good newsletter. So we're going to take some time and we're going to go over these 12 areas here, and hopefully you can see those. You should be able to see those on your screen. So the first one goes back to that template. How do I want my newsletter to look? You can use it for Microsoft Word, you can use a template from Publisher, PowerPoint, or any software that you find that you like to use. If it's not Microsoft Word, Publisher, or PowerPoint, I would like for you to send me some information on the software that you're using so that we can just make sure that it's going to help you put together a really good looking newsletter to send home. Number 2, you're going to include graphics such as photos or clip art. So make sure that when you do this, that you make this newsletter look very inviting, and where parents just can't wait to look and see what's going on in your classroom. Clip art and photos help you do that. If you do use photos from your classroom, make absolutely sure that you have some photo release forms on your children. You never want to release a photo to the public if a parent has not previously signed that. That would be okay. And I guess probably what I should say in the beginning is, if you are already working in a child care facility and you would like to make a real newsletter using the information that's in your class, you are more than welcome to do that. Again, if you use photos of children, make sure you have a photo release form from the parent before you put their photos in a newsletter. If you are not currently working in child care, you're not working in a classroom, you're going to make this stuff up. You're going to think about some of the things that, let's say that you want to teach second grade. What are some things second graders would be doing? And you are going to create your newsletter based on fictitious information. So with that being said, this can be an actual newsletter that you're using in the classroom that you're working in, or it can be fictitious and you're making the information up, but you are meeting the criteria. Okay? All right, so number 3, it says use black text, size 10 to 12 for stories. Your headings can be larger and may include some color. Each story should have a heading. So if you're talking about the student science projects that they have done, you're going to title that, and that title is going to be a little bit larger, maybe in some color, and underneath your story is going to fit that text size of 10 to 12, and it's all going to be in black ink. Okay? Do not use more than 2 different fonts for the newsletter. If you've ever gotten a newsletter or a brochure or even a Word document and you've tried to read it and it's in a bunch of different fonts, it does not look professional, and sometimes it's very difficult to read. So we want to keep those fonts to 2 or less within your newsletter. Again, include some current classroom news. What's going on? What's happening? What are you students studying? Include that current classroom news. Also include some upcoming class events. Is there a field day or a field trip that's about to happen? Are students getting ready to do some type of science experiment? What's happening? What's coming up? Is there fundraisers that's going to be coming your way? Anything like that would be appropriate for upcoming classroom events. Include some upcoming areas of study. So you think about the age of the child that you want to work with, or if you're working in a classroom setting, what are some things that are getting ready to happen? Are you going to study the life cycle of a butterfly, for example? Are you getting ready to start a unit on bugs? Something like that. What are we getting ready to study? And you want parents to be informed of that so they can start talking to their children about that. Number 8, include some ways parents can engage with their children at home. Many times when we see newsletters, teachers will list ways that parents can help students in the studies that they're doing. If they are doing single digit addition in math, for example, they might say, use some manipulatives, find some cubes around your house and help students do one-to-one correspondence with those manipulatives, things of that nature. If they're working on reading comprehension, teachers might include in a newsletter simple comprehensive questions that parents could ask students as they're reading, things like that. Number 9, the newsletter must be at least one full page, but it can be longer. You want to be careful here because we're all human, and if we start getting a newsletter that's 3 pages long, we want to look at the first page and kind of come back to the rest later, and sometimes that doesn't happen. So one full page is really the goal here for your newsletter. It can be a little longer, doesn't need to be any shorter because, hopefully you've got a lot going on in your classroom that you want parents to know about. So make sure that you shoot for that one full page, okay? The spacing should not be crowded or awkward, meaning that your words should not float. They should not be pushed together. It should be very pleasing visually, okay? And then the newsletter should be free from spelling and grammar mistakes. We've already been over that. Extremely important. Do not send anything home with spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. And number 12, the newsletter should be easy for all families to read, even those who may not have English as their primary home language. So a great way, this is not mandatory for this assignment, but I always encourage our teachers and students, when you do something like a newsletter, that maybe on the back you have it translated into Spanish. That is not mandatory for this assignment. You do not have to translate your newsletter, but that's just a word of advice for maybe the future classroom that you have. But make it easy to read. Remember that sometimes families don't always have the vocabulary that you have, so we don't want to put words in there that are long and arduous and hard to understand. Keep that language simple. Okay? So you're going to submit this newsletter electronically. So I really want you to add color, and I want your photos to be aesthetically pleasing. Make it attractive. Make it attractive. Okay. So there is your overview. So I've kind of explained exactly what it is that you need to do. Here's the rubric. Okay. When you look at your rubric, I realize this video is getting kind of long here, but when you look at your rubric for your newsletter assignment, you want to stay right here in this area that says exceeds expectation. In this column, this is where you are going to get the majority of your points for this assignment, okay? Exceeds expectation. And I'm telling you exactly what it is that you need to do to get your full number of points. So very quickly, when we look at the very first thing, the criteria that we talked about, number 1, use of template from approved software. And basically, it just says that the template that you choose is inviting and attractive and fits the age of the classroom well. Students use the available features of the software to add visually to the newsletter. Students use the software features to help ensure proper spelling and grammar. There's a spelling and grammar again. And that is worth 10 points. Again, use of graphics. More than 2 graphics are used. So to get 4 points, you definitely want to use more than 2 graphics. Your graphics are clear, some are in color, they're relevant, and that will get you up to 10 points. It talks about your layout and what you need to do. It talks about your current classroom news. So you'll see that as we go down, the criteria section goes along with number 1 through 12. And then right here in your exceeds expectations column, it tells you exactly what the expectation is for that. So use your rubric as you're doing this. I will literally print off this rubric and check off where you are on the expectation. So make sure that you look over this rubric. If you have any questions at all about anything on it, make sure that you let me know, and I'll be glad to help you and answer any questions at all that you might have. Okay? All right. You have your Module 3 journal. We won't look at that. This is the same as the ones that you have done in previous modules. But I do want to bring your attention to your traveling suitcase. The travel suitcase is not due in Module 3, but it's something that you don't want to wait to look at. It's a